Looking at the state of gaming in 2026 makes you realize how bloated and exhausting the industry has become. Every single week we get flooded with broken live service trash, endless battle passes, and games that feel more like a second job than an actual hobby. It makes you want to completely give up on modern releases until you look back exactly 5 years ago at a masterpiece that completely redefined what multiplayer gaming could be. I am talking about It Takes Two. When this game dropped back in 2021, it completely blew everyone away. And even now, half a decade later, nothing else comes close to the raw creativity packed into this journey. If you think modern co-op games are peak entertainment, you are completely missing out on a golden standard. And there is a very specific reason why this experience still holds up so perfectly today. At its core, the game tackles a topic that most video games would never dare to touch, which is a failing marriage. You play as Cody and May, a husband and wife who have completely drifted apart and are on the absolute brink of getting a divorce. Their young daughter, Rose, is completely devastated by this and secretly cries over two handmade dolls she built to look like her parents. Through a bit of childhood magic, her tears actually transport Cody and May's consciousness straight into these wooden and clay bodies. To get back to their real human forms, they are forced to work together under the chaotic guidance of Dr. Hakim, a sentient, over-the-top relationship self-help book. The setup sounds like a lighthearted animated movie, but the way the story unfolds is incredibly grounded. The bickering between the two main characters feels like an actual couple going through a real rough patch, filled with genuine resentment, petty arguments, and deep-seated frustrations. You watch these two people slowly peel back the layers of their failed relationship, and it hits you on a deeply emotional level. But right when you think you understand the tone of this emotional journey, the game hits you with a shockingly dark twist that completely catches you off guard. And I will get into that heartbreaking moment in just a bit. The real genius of this game lies in its gameplay mechanics, which can only be described as an absolute masterclass in game design. The director, Joseph Fares, famously promised that he would pay anyone $10,000 if they got bored playing his game, and after finishing it, you realize his money was completely safe. The variety here is absolutely insane, because the game refuses to stick to one single mechanic for more than 20 minutes. In one chapter, you are using a hammer and nails to swing across platforms. In the next, you are piloting a makeshift airplane, and shortly after, you are riding on the backs of frogs through a flooded garden. The sheer volume of unique gameplay styles crammed into a single package is something modern 2026 developers seem completely incapable of replicating. The controls are incredibly crisp and responsive, providing a level of fluid movement that puts modern AAA titles to shame. Whether you are aiming a weapon, precisely timing a double jump, or grinding on electrical rails, the character reacts instantly to your inputs. There is absolutely no sluggishness or input lag, making the act of simply moving around the environment feel incredibly satisfying.
The entire experience relies heavily on pure co-op synergy, meaning you cannot just carry your partner through the levels while they sit back. Every single puzzle and combat encounter requires both players to act as two halves of a single brain. For example, during an early segment in a cluttered tool shed, Cody is given a set of nails that he can throw into walls to create temporary anchor points, while May is equipped with a hammerhead that allows her to swing from those exact nails. If Cody misses a throw, May plummets into the abyss. If May times her jump poorly, Cody has to restart the entire sequence. This intense level of mutual dependence creates an incredible dynamic between you and whoever is sitting next to you on the couch or playing with you online. You find yourself constantly talking, shouting, planning, and laughing in real time. It is a beautiful, stressful, and chaotic test of communication that makes every single victory feel like a genuine shared achievement. When it comes to combat, the game completely throws out the standard shooter playbook and introduces brilliant, asymmetrical weapons that are specific to each level. In a brilliant chapter involving a brutal war between militarized squirrels and aggressive wasps inside a giant backyard tree, Cody gets a gun that shoots flammable, explosive sap, while May gets a rifle that fires burning matchsticks. Cody has to cover the targets or heavy mechanisms in heavy layers of sap, and then May has to shoot them with a match to trigger a massive explosion. The combat loop forces you to look at the screen as a collaborative playground rather than two separate people shooting at different targets. The boss fights take this philosophy even further by turning massive encounters into giant living puzzles. Fighting a corrupted tool like a rogue vacuum cleaner or a psychotic toolbox requires you to dodge massive wave attacks while simultaneously using your unique tools to redirect the boss's own projectiles right back at its face. The pacing is relentless, keeping your adrenaline pumping while forcing you to think critically under heavy pressure. You might think a game with this much variety would lack depth, but it constantly introduces complex systems that mimic entirely different genres without ever feeling overwhelming. There are no traditional role-playing game skill trees, experience points, or tedious inventory management systems, but the progression comes from the sheer imagination of the level design. In a brilliant space themes level, Cody gains the ability to alter his physical size, from a tiny ant to a giant behemoth, while May receives gravity boots and the power to manipulate time by reversing the position of fallen objects. The way the game forces you to combine size alteration with time manipulation to solve multi-layered environmental puzzles is pure brilliance. But the absolute peak of this genre-bending madness happens when you enter a fantasy castle section, where the game literally transforms into a fully realized isometric action role-playing game that feels exactly like Diablo. Camera angles shift entirely to a top-down view, and suddenly Cody is a heavy warrior wielding a massive sword and a magic shield, while May is a powerful mage casting devastating fire spells. The combat in this short segment is so polished, punchy, and mechanically sound that the developers could have easily sold it as a completely standalone game.
The world design beautifully transforms the mundane reality of an ordinary suburban house into a massive, magical fantasy landscape. A dusty attic becomes a neon-lit synthwave nightclub, a frozen snow globe becomes a sprawling winter wonderland, and a child's bedroom turns into a sprawling kingdom made entirely of plastic building blocks. Exploration is encouraged not through boring collectible checklists, but through hidden, highly competitive minigames scattered naturally throughout the environment. You will be walking down a path and suddenly discover a whack-a-mole game where Cody is the mole and May has to smash him with a hammer, or a button-mashing tug-of-war match. These little distractions give you a perfect break from the main story, allowing you to engage in petty, hilarious rivalries with your partner. But as I mentioned earlier, the game is not just mindless fun and colorful environments. It deliberately forces the players into an incredibly uncomfortable, dark narrative bottleneck that remains one of the most infamous scenes in gaming history. To break the magical spell, Cody and May convince themselves that they need to make their daughter cry, so her tears will reverse the magic. They decide the best way to do this is to brutally destroy her absolute favorite toy, a sweet talking plush elephant named Cutie. What follows is a genuinely horrifying, drawn-out sequence where you and your partner are forced to literally drag this begging, innocent toy to the edge of a bed and dismember it. It is a shockingly dark, borderline cruel moment that completely shatters the whimsical atmosphere, forcing you to realize that Cody and May are deeply flawed, selfish people who are blinded by their own desperation. It is a brilliant piece of narrative discomfort that sticks with you long after the credits roll. From a 2026 perspective, the visuals have aged absolutely flawlessly. Because the developers chose a highly stylized cinematic art direction rather than chasing hyper-realistic graphics, the game looks just as beautiful today as it did at launch. The animations are incredibly expressive, the lighting is warm and vibrant, and the transitions from pre-rendered cutscenes straight into active gameplay are completely seamless. Running on modern hardware today, the technical performance is immaculate, completely free of the stuttering, bugs, and endless day one patches that plague modern releases. The audio design is equally spectacular, featuring a brilliant musical score that dynamically shifts its genre to match whatever crazy environment you are currently exploring. The voice acting is raw, passionate, and incredibly convincing, perfectly capturing the bitter history and gradual healing between the two leads. Dr. Hakim provides a loud, hilarious, and sometimes frustrating presence that perfectly balances the heavier emotional beats of the story.
The replay value is massive because switching characters for a second playthrough gives you an entirely different mechanical experience, effectively letting you play a different version of the game. In an era where publishers try to squeeze every single dollar out of your pocket, the inclusion of the Friends Pass system, where only one person needs to own the game for two people to play, feels like a respectful relic of a better time. The only minor drawback to the entire experience is that if your co-op partner has absolutely no gaming experience, some of the later platforming sections can become an absolute exercise in patience, potentially leading to real-life arguments. Ultimately, this project is a beautiful reminder of why we fell in love with video games in the first place. It is a pure, unadulterated piece of entertainment that values creativity over profit. For its unmatched variety, emotional weight, and perfect execution, it easily earns a flawless 5 out of 5 rating. If you have somehow skipped out on this masterpiece, find a friend, download the game, and experience a true high-water mark in gaming history. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel for more retrospective reviews, share this with your favorite gaming partner, and leave a comment below letting me know which level blew your mind the most.